Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show!
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
Boring.
A weekly podcast about sports since 2011.
Don't you ever get tired of being wrong all the time?
With a focus on football.
Second and goal. Pass. Got it. Touchdown. This guy has had some year.
Al, I've got to tell you, in a pressure situation, I don't know if I have ever seen anybody be better than Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Wow, what a drive.
4th and 1. Burrow trying to keep it going, gets spun down, gets it away, and incomplete. Rams now running down to celebrate with a defensive play.
And guess who?
Of course.
I mean, you don't even have to think about it.
Pointing to the ring finger.
When everything was on the line for the Rams, yes, we know it was Aaron Donald.
But the Rams were built to win the Super Bowl, and they have sealed the deal.
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffauf. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting here with me, as he always is my co-host, Justin Raffauf.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
And we are here to continue playing our NCAA Football 14 Dynasty. We're at the end of year 3. We will be playing our bowl game in the Hawaii Bowl again, second time in 3 years. Florida Atlantic taking on New Mexico State. And I will be up first, so I'm just going to get the gaming portion of our show here locked and loaded and join Justin with the controller. And while we play this bowl game in our dynasty, we will be recapping the 2022 NFL Draft, which concluded yesterday. And Justin, well, why don't you get us started talking about what the Eagles were able to do?
Yeah, so the Eagles, it was an interesting draft for the Eagles. So we did our live show on Thursday night, and we were talking about, right, a couple months ago, the Eagles had 3 first-round picks. Now, most people, I say most people, and by that I include everyone that actually follows the Eagles.
Right.
Like, beyond just like in the fall, knew they're not taking.
No way.
They're not selecting 3 guys in the first round.
Who do they think they are? The New York Jets?
Right. Now, to be fair, I feel like for the Jets, it was good. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
But for the Eagles, I feel like, all right. So they traded 1 and they turned that into a first round for next year, and also a second from 2 years from now. So going into the draft, the Eagles had 3 picks or at least 3, in the first 2 rounds.
For 3 years.
For the next 3 years, including this year. So they ended up trading up a couple spots to get the defensive tackle from Georgia, who is a mountain of a man.
Who was it was some talking heads' favorite player in the draft. I don't remember who it was.
Right, yeah. He's kind of a mixed bag in terms of people's takes on him. Like, there's some people who are like, oh, but they're
one of 15 Georgia Bulldogs drafted.
Right. He was arguably one of the better defenders, and it's hard at defensive tackle because not everyone's Aaron Donald as a defensive tackle, because he's a unique specimen at defensive tackle. Defensive tackle is an interesting position, though, but like somebody showed, like, what impact does he have on the game? They showed, like, and again, who knows what actually happened on that one particular play, but they show the play where Alabama is sending 3 guys at him
to block him.
Right. So, like, now, that can be taken out of context. Someone might have missed it. Somebody might be chipping and going. But either way, like, the point remains the same that
If
this
you
guy
occupy 2 blockers, that's good.
in the
Three?
NFL, right? In the NFL, if you can command help from a second guy, even if that's temporary help,
You win.
That's huge, right? And hey, building up front. We said it at the time. That was a very Howie pick. They got the guy they wanted.
For sure.
So I was happy with that. I would have loved for them to be able to get one of the guys, one of the big defensive backs. So, like, Kyle Hamilton was on my radar, and I would have liked him. That is not a Howie pick. You know what I mean? Like, and I would have loved that, but I'm okay with taking.
No, and I feel like if anyone that watched our 3.5-hour show
Yeah.
on Thursday night, we were really a dragon there by the end. I'm going to go for this, by the way.
That's fine. It's the last game of the season. Can't hold back now.
We said at the time, I thought for sure that
Nice.
they were going to take Kyle Hamilton at the time.
I
I
thought
should say
were.
they were going to take it. We wanted them to.
Yes,
We thought it
yes.
would be good for them to do that. But they went in the Davis direction, which is fine. Like, it's a nice, solid pick. And if he becomes what Fletcher Cox was over the last
Right,
decade,
right.
that's a win.
Yeah.
Like, that's an absolute win.
And,
So
and it may not be exactly the same. Fletcher Cox in his
I
prime
know- I know
could
they're
get some
not the
pressure
same.
on. But in terms of impact in their role,
Sure.
If he can have a similar impact in his role as Fletcher Cox had in his role, that's a win. Even if he doesn't get to the same level.
True.
Like Fletcher Cox. This is a weird way, and again, defensive tackle is really hard. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Fletcher Cox ends up in the Hall of Fame, right?
I
Like,
could see it.
arguably the best player on the Eagles Super Bowl
He
team.
was on my Eagles Rushmore when we
Right.
did that 2 years ago.
You know what I mean? Like, arguably and it's crazy because, you think, it's for me, and when I think who's the best Eagles defensive lineman of all time, when I say all time first, I'm probably thinking Reggie White.
Right.
Okay? Now, it was different. He's different than Fletcher
Right.
Cox.
It's a different position.
Right. But if you're going defensive tackle, like,
Yeah, I don't know
I-
how you could pick anyone over
they won the
Cox.
Super Bowl with him, and he was the best player on that team.
Right.
But anyway, so I was pleased with that. But then the next one, they were able to stay at 18. So even though they moved up, they didn't really give up much. They gave up a second, third-round pick, but they still had a third-round pick, which we'll get to.
Yep.
But so you didn't have to give up too much in order to be able to get up those couple spots to get the guy they wanted at that point. And then from there, they were able to parlay that 18th pick and still keep their high picks from the next 2 years.
Right.
That was huge. And get A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown.
Which, and I saw some people joking about this, but I think it's one of those things that's funny because it's true. Where, oh yeah, the Eagles can't draft wide receivers, so they're going to go trade for one. Yes.
So
yes,
what?
Exactly.
They had
Exactly.
picks to do it.
Oh, and by the way, they got Devontae Smith last year, and he was pretty good last year. So you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, in my opinion, Quez Watkins as the third wide receiver.
I would think so, yeah.
You have Miles Sanders.
Right.
You've got Dallas Goedert, and they were able to pick up in one of the late rounds. They picked up the tight end from SMU, Calcara.
Yeah.
But they were saying, like, prior to this season, a lot of people thought he could have been the first tight end off the board.
Okay.
Because I guess he had been at
Which
Oklahoma and
was
he
Trey
transferred.
McBride is the guy
Right,
who went first.
right.
First tight end.
So, like, not saying he's a stud,
Yeah.
but, like, he could be a serviceable guy, which is when you have Goddard, you don't need the stud, you need
Right.
a serviceable guy. So,
One that develops,
right.
you don't end up paying
So,
Goddard down the line.
after night one, well, I know we skipped ahead to some of those, but, like, I was pleased with what they walked away with on night one, and including what they didn't have to give up to move up for the first pick, and what they didn't have to give up to get A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and
Win.
And, like, I know people are like, oh, yeah, but they had to pay A.J. Brown.
So
yeah,
what?
but compare it to the other wide receiver deals that were given this offseason, and it's I'll say it's at market value because I don't necessarily know that A.J. Brown is as good as some of those, quite as good as some of those other guys. But at
he's
the
still
same time,
young. Like,
right. And
he's entering his prime.
And
like, he's entering
you look at
his
it,
prime.
what do they need to do? They need to be able to figure out, is Jalen Hurts our guy, right? Well, in a different way, but much like the Dolphins are doing with Tua, they're putting the weapons there.
Right.
They're going to find out, is this our guy or not? You know what I mean? And if not, then they still have 3 picks in the first 60 next year or whatever to go and figure out who their guy will be in the future. You know, so like I'm really pleased with what they did there.
So to recap for everyone, the Eagles made 5 picks overall in the 2022 NFL Draft. Pick 13 was Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle from Georgia. Round 2, pick 51 was Cam Jurgens, the center from Nebraska. Round 3, pick 83 was Nakobe Dean, linebacker
Yes.
from Georgia.
And I love that pick.
And then pick 181 and 198 of round 6 were Kyron Johnson, the linebacker from Kansas,
Right.
and then your tight end,
Right.
which they don't have the name here. They wrote
Right.
who they got the pick from, but they didn't write his
So
name.
getting Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, I love. I know there's some questions about the shoulder or the pectoral muscle.
But they say not to, just like his camp was saying.
Right.
So
Right.
it's weird.
Right. And so it's interesting. I know a guy who is very involved in some high-level sports medicine stuff, and he says it's interesting all the time when you talk to prospects. It's a different sport, but that he's involved with mostly.
Oh, he's not. You mean he's not?
It's not an
football-
NFL one, but and I'll tell you more off.
Sure.
But anyway,
So this is when we
he
need
says-
a Patreon where
Right,
you like join,
right,
pay,
right.
pay us a few bucks a
Right.
month and you can join our
So,
Slack or Discord
he
channel.
talks all the time about how some prospects are like, no, and decline certain medical things and then they get picked, and they're like, oh no, I'm good, and like, no, you don't understand. Now it doesn't work like that anymore. Like
Yeah.
once we draft you,
You do what we tell you to do.
right? Like you
or
don't have an
we
option
can
or
void
it
your
voids the contract,
contract.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it doesn't work like that. Now, and it's not saying it happens like everyone, but it's not an uncommon thing to happen. So, but look, even if Nakobe Dean does need surgery, when you get him in the 3rd round,
Right.
you know, so
You're already
like,
paying him less.
right, and he, you know, and here's the thing, like even if people have questions about him, he could quickly become the best linebacker the Eagles have.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing. The Eagles always have always needed a linebacker.
even if there's questions, he could be the best linebacker the Eagles have.
They had someone with the name, a linebacker with a name since Trotter, like
No.
that's lasted more than maybe a
Okay.
year or two.
I feel like, okay, so, well,
like I know,
Kendricks was there, and he was
Right.
good, but his brother was better. And also, like, I feel like his name was out there because he was with the Eagles, and I'm an Eagles fan. Like, you know, like
True, yeah, I guess that's something
he
you kind
made
of
some
would
he
have
made
to
some
ask.
splash plays, and that's the thing. The Eagles have gotten some really good contributions at linebacker from guys who have no business making that level of contribution in the
Jordan
NFL.
Hicks was one of them.
Right. You know, but like to go with a guy like Nakobe Dean, and you're like, man, he could actually.
He could be well. At times, he was the best player on a defense that won the national
So-
championship. Was one of the best ever, and just had what
Right.
7 guys
So
drafted.
the Eagles just added 2 of the biggest defenders, literally and figuratively,
Yes.
from Georgia to their team. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, especially on a D line where there were a lot of questions on the D line last year. So I'm pleased with that, and then they added some depth. Man, he's been hurt all year.
Well, this is his last game.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
So it's just one of those where I was pleased they got some help. You know, they didn't get some help at safety where I thought I feel like they may make a push for Tyrann Mathieu. I know I saw a report that the Saints are going to push heavy for him, and I would expect that. And being in New Orleans, they might have the leg up there.
Yeah, that.
But also I saw something that there's no way a team signs him to a deal before 4:00 tomorrow, because if they do, then there's compensatory picks that are involved, and if they don't, then there aren't. Like so. But, it'll be interesting to see if they could get a little bit more help there as teams kind of shape their rosters around a little bit. But yeah, I was pleased. I think they're building. One thing that did frustrate me a little bit, and this may sound a little odd because I think a lot of fans would like this, but there was a lot of talk Thursday night and Friday morning about how with the moves the Eagles made and the move that the Cowboys made, that the Eagles from a roster standpoint are catching up or are going to compete or maybe should be favored to win the NFC East. And I get the points they're making. I agreed. I know this might be blasphemous. I agree with Keyshawn Johnson's assessment of it, where he said, no, he feels like they closed the gap, but he doesn't feel as though they've passed them. But you look, the Cowboys had some big losses this offseason, and in the first round, didn't really do a whole lot to address those. We didn't. And I wasn't listening to this at the time. We were talking about other stuff, but they said when they cut to Mel Kiper about his assessment of the pick that the Cowboys made, he said he's a penalty waiting to happen. And somebody was like, somebody said perfect pick for the Cowboys. Now that's not to say that he can't be good, and develop. Part of the draft is talent evaluation, and the other part is figuring out where's that ceiling, and then the other part, and this is not on the scouts necessarily, how are your coaches going to develop them?
Right.
And so you need to develop them, which is also where some of that stuff with what is Howie doing sometimes.
Shoot. I knew it when I threw it.
It comes up to that. So it'll be interesting. But I was pleasantly surprised with how the Eagles.
Yeah, I feel like it couldn't have gone much better for the Eagles getting Davis, Brown, and Nakobe Dean.
I thought Howie made a good statement. I think it was Howie that was if you would have told me on Thursday morning that this is who you get in the draft, and he would have said,
no one would say no.
How would how is this gonna what did we have to give up over the next 2 years?
Yeah, that's true.
So to not have to give those things up, and I think they've continued to help themselves for the future, and they help themselves out now, which is all you really want from the draft.
Well, you start our second half here on defense. I'm going to let's look at the Cowboys draft since you brought it up. So their first round pick 24, was Tyler Smith, the tackle from Tulsa. It seemed like a reach to everyone. I don't know a lot about their other picks and can't even really comment whether or not I think it was a good value. They made a lot of picks. They made 9 total picks. They got Tyler Smith, the offensive tackle, Sam Williams, a defensive end, Jalen Tolbert, a wide receiver, Jake Ferguson, a tight end, Matt Waletzko, another offensive tackle, Deron Bland, a cornerback, Damon Clark, a linebacker, John Ridgway, a defensive tackle, and Devin Harper, a linebacker. Now, we know they needed offensive line help because of losing Lyle Collins and Connor Williams. But taking Tyler Smith that early when there were other players on the board in other areas of need was just a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
From what I've read, though, they do expect Jalen Tolbert to fill in right away, especially early because of the injury to Michael Gallup, and he's recovering and could even start the year, possibly even on the PUP list.
Right.
That Tolbert is going to be asked to step in right away because they also lost Cedric Wilson. The Cowboys did, and traded Amari Cooper. So their wide receiver core is completely new.
Yep.
But I do completely understand why people are saying that maybe the Eagles are closing the gap there. We don't really know what to expect from the Giants or the Commanders.
Right, because the Cowboys lost Randy Gregory too.
Right. Well, and I guess they're fully expecting to use Sam Williams to replace him there, as he's the only significant change or contribution to what they have to offer after losing Gregory. Let's see. Who else do we? Obviously, well, let's go to New England. Let's see if I can pull up the New England list here. New England Patriots. Here we go. Okay, so New England also made a bunch of picks, 10 in total. They went in the first round of pick 29. Another offensive line reached like the Cowboys. Offensive guard Cole Strange from Chattanooga, which makes Haley happy that I've been saying Chattanooga. But this was a bigger reach than the Cowboys selection. And we saw, I'm sure people have seen the video by now of the Rams draft. You sent it to me of their head coach and GM saying, we wasted time scouting him. We thought he'd be available for their pick at 104. And this was the Patriots taking him at 29. Now, I know Belichick and the Patriots get a lot of the benefit of the doubt. Although early on, people praised the Patriot way of drafting. They haven't done great over the last few years. Especially developing wide receivers and at time offensive linemen. I feel like the stuff that happened there in the 2000s and the early 2010s has been overshadowed the last decade of a little bit of ineptness on draft night. Now, they're always going to find a few good players here, but it wasn't anything like it was when Belichick and company were developing those Super Bowl teams in the early 2000s. They picked Tyquan Thornton, a wide receiver from Baylor, in round 2. They went with 2 Joneses, Marcus and Jack, with back-to-back picks. Both are cornerbacks. They did bring in a quarterback in Bailey Zapp from Western Kentucky. Just not a lot of moves that stand out. Now, the Patriots have always done great things with no-name players or without being flashy, but I don't think anyone was overwhelmed with what New England did. Now, their biggest acquisition is probably Devontae Parker that they got from the Dolphins in a trade before the draft. But I don't know. It wasn't exactly a banner draft for the Cowboys or the Patriots.
No, after a few really good drafts by the Cowboys, like the last 2 or 3 had been excellent for them.
Next time you're on defense, I'll talk Dolphins. So, did you want to talk? Why don't we talk about some of the winners that we think are out there? Why don't you start with your mom's team, the Baltimore Ravens?
I think the Ravens did really well.
What a shot!
Which is why we talk about them, the winners.
It's as if Ozzie Newsome never left because the guys in charge
I feel like it's a team that maybe over the long haul, I don't know if there's a team that drafts better.
I don't disagree.
But to get a Jabu late, like they did, and you're going to pair him with Owe, and the way guys come back from Achilles stuff now, I know he had it late, so he won't be ready.
We just saw
at the
last
start,
year Cam Akers came back in season.
Yes.
He toured over the summer and was back for the playoffs.
It's insane. I felt like there was a New Jersey Nets joke in there somewhere, but I digress.
Careful, there's a few cards in there for Austin.
But you look at just some of the things, it is just kind of interesting.
Well, they ended up getting the guy we talked about for the Eagles, Kyle Hamilton. He just fell into their lap again.
And oh man, they've got a perfect Kyle Hamilton fell into their lap. Amazing pickup. They had some amazing defensive pickups. They got Jordan Stout, right? Who ended up being the best punter or the first punter off the board, which was awesome because that kid from San Diego State, I'm not saying he's not good, but he got all this talk because I boots it. But Jordan Stout was incredible, and his numbers weren't all that different than.
Oh my gosh, he fumbled.
Weren't all that different than before, or than the guy from San Diego State. So I was really happy for Jordan Stout to get selected there.
Well, at the end of the first, they got Tyler Linderbaum, center from Iowa, the best interior, best center for sure. I mean, you could argue that he made the best interior guy.
Yeah, I think the Ravens did a knockout job, which was interesting because my mom seemed not happy.
That was early though.
I think that was when they traded back.
Yeah, it was when they were trading, but they ended up really doing well for them. So the Ravens were one that stood out to me. Honestly, let's stay in the AFC North. I think the Steelers have a chance to have made great choices. It all will come down to Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, but the fact that they didn't have to move up.
Right. They sat there and waited. Now, could they have waited till the second round? it's a possibility because of the way the quarterbacks fell.
Right.
None went in round 2. We saw a bunch of guys picked in round 3, but they got possibly their quarterback of the future. I'm not on board. I'm not sold, but that could be, the Pitt bias in me. I don't like anyone from Pitt.
Right.
I don't think Kenny Pickett was the guy. I like Malik Willis in this draft class, but if he ends up being the guy and a good starter, above average, pushing top 10, I think this class could be a very, very good one. And them getting George Pickens, who possibly could have been a top 15, 20 pick if he hadn't torn his ACL.
Yep.
Right, ACL, right? Not Achilles. I'm getting the
I think
injuries
it was.
confused.
I think it was his ACL.
And they're adding him to a young crop of receivers, just anticipating them losing probably Deontay Johnson next year. They just keep finding these guys in the draft that just fall to them. And I think the Steelers did a great job with Pickett and Pickens alone. They've already gotten their offense to where I think they need it to be.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Pittsburgh had a strong draft as well. The Jets, I know it's probably easy. You think it would be easy when you end up having 3 first-round picks to have a good draft, but they added 3 immense talents, which it pains for me to talk about them like that. I don't want to see the Jets get better, but I just think that they did a fabulous job.
They did an excellent job
getting guys that they needed to. They got Sauce Gardner first,
which was incredible.
Then they got Wilson, right?
Yes.
Ohio State
Garrett Wilson.
Receiver Garrett Wilson,
who many people had as the number 1 wide receiver, or the most athletic wide receiver is probably the best to say it, is what I heard from a lot of people. From an athleticism standpoint, maybe the best wide receiver.
And then they added another defensive piece when they traded back into the first round with the sliding Jermaine Johnson, who many thought would be a top 5, top 10 pick, and they got him in the 20s.
Yeah.
So it was rough being a Jets hater to see, but I think the Jets had a good draft. They also got Breece Hall.
Yeah.
The top running back in the draft. And so their first 4 picks, I don't know that you could ask for a much better draft. Now, they had the ammunition to do it, but I think they did quite well in getting the guys that they needed to make their team better. Let's see, who else had a good draft? I'm trying to think of some of the other teams that we talked about. I think the Chiefs did pretty well. I think Sky could be Sky Moore, right? Sky Moore. Sky Moore could be, a guy that steps up and fills in with the departure of Tyreek Hill. They also were able to get some defensive guys that they needed. They needed a defensive back, and they got Trent McDuffie, who was one of my favorites. And then they also got a defensive end, a pass rusher. So, oh, shoot. I didn't realize.
Oh, I thought you were going to break it.
I can't advance it.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, I've tried many times. Even if that rule has changed, it has not changed in this game. So I'll talk about the Dolphins as soon as I'm done here, hopefully winning this game. That's the goal. That's the hope. That's a good start.
Yes.
The Dolphins only had 4 picks. They ended up making all 4 picks. They had traded enough before the draft that they kept those 4 picks. I was pretty happy with what they got. I thought the talent and the value as well as the positions that they filled were all good. Also ended up with a Georgia defender, so that seems to be the one thing that signifies maybe a stronger draft. And they got what is essentially technically a backup Georgia linebacker, but he started and played so many snaps that he would have been classified as a starter almost anywhere else. It was Tyndall, who had tested as one of the athletic freaks at the position very, very well, which is very exciting to see.
Yeah, because you can use that guy all over the place, which is what you need to be as a linebacker in the NFL. And we talked about Trotter. There aren't guys like Trotter anymore.
No, they're very, very rare.
2 down linebackers.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you need them for? Everyone's throwing 4 or 5 receivers out at you.
Right. You need guys that are too small to play D end. That's what you need.
Essentially,
Or you could look at it as your DNs are the guys who are just what used to be linebackers. Like usually a little taller, but
Right. So that was their first pick. They did end up also taking quarterback, but again, like a late round development of quarterback doesn't really mean much. He's there for reps. Maybe you found a gem.
Yeah.
It's Skylar Thompson from Kansas State. I'm fine with it. Like it is what it is. The Dolphins did a lot in the offseason and in the drafts the last few years to fill in a lot of spots. So I'm not super concerned that they picked a quarterback late in the draft. I think he was a 6th rounder. So it's really not. I know people want to make a big deal out of it, but I think it's perfectly fine and acceptable. I know they got a second linebacker. His name escapes me right now. I'm going to go back and look as soon as we kick this extra point. This should mostly ice it with a minute to play. All right, so I have it up right here. Cameron Good from Cal. He was their 7th round pick, number 224 overall. They also got a wide receiver, Eric Ezukanma from Texas Tech. So 2 linebackers, a receiver, and a quarterback. Would I have liked to maybe seen an offensive lineman in there? Sure. I think they're still searching for the right mix on that line.
Bless.
But overall, I'm happy with the limited draft picks that they had. I mean, technically, you can consider Tyreek Hill as part of this draft class because they traded so much for him.
Well, and I consider A.J. Brown part of this.
That's what I mean.
I know he wasn't a draft prospect, but they used the draft to obtain him. So, absolutely.
I'm glancing over some of these other teams' picks. Oh, it was the Chiefs' defensive end that I couldn't think of was Karlaftis from Purdue. That's who they got. So they got McDuffie, Karlaftis, and Sky Moore with their first 3 picks, which I think is phenomenal from them. I talked a lot about on Thursday night how much I like Devin Lloyd. Yeah. I don't love the Jaguars draft because it's still weird to me that Trayvon Walker was the number 1 pick.
Yes, yeah.
I
trying to outsmart the room there at number 1 never works out well for you.
Right, but they came back and got Devin Lloyd. I like Chad Muma, but again they picked Devin Lloyd earlier, so I don't know. The Jaguars was a little bit weird. Nothing really stood out to me with the Colts.
And I know it happens, but they let Miles Jack go.
Right.
You had a proven really good linebacker, and you let him walk. Now I know that contracts do a lot with that, but
I do think.
Did he go to Baltimore?
Who's that?
Miles Jack?
No, Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. I remember he went to one of those.
So I think Houston had a pretty good draft. Derek Stingley at 3, Kenyon Green at 15, Petrie at 37, and 2 Alabama guys then at 44 and 75, John Mechie, the wide receiver, and Christian Harris, the linebacker. I think that's a good haul for those 5 picks for the Houston Texans. But they're a couple years away still, but that would be a good foundation. It was interesting to me that the Packers went with 2 Georgia defenders and Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt instead of getting help for Aaron Rodgers in the offense after trading Devontae Adams. But they did come back and get the best wide receiver left after day 1 in Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. So I can't really blame them for what they did. I think they got some great people. And late, they did end up taking Rasheed Walker from Penn State.
Yes.
So if you don't have any other teams you wanted to spotlight, why don't we talk about our Penn State guys?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about the Penn State guys.
So Penn State ended up with the 4th most draft picks.
I'm just going to kneel this if that's all right. There's 4 seconds.
That's fine.
Okay.
The 4th most draft picks in the entire draft. Obviously, Georgia led the way with 15. LSU was next at 10. Cincinnati had 9, but we saw that the run they've been on over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then Penn State at 8, just in front of Alabama and Oklahoma, who had 7. So it was a great draft for Penn State. Jahan Dotson went in the first round to Washington. Arnold Ebiketie and Jaquan Brisker to Atlanta and Chicago, respectively. Then Brandon Smith went to Carolina. Jordan Stout, who Justin talked about, went to Baltimore. Then Tariq Castro-Fields went to San Francisco. I just mentioned Rasheed Walker, who went to Green Bay, who I feel at one time was mentioned as a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And then Jesse Lucado.
Well, preseason, he was supposed to be one of the top tackles coming out. And
ended up going to Arizona. So it was a phenomenal draft for Penn State. They really did a great job getting their guys in there, and let's see if I can pull up here. Here we go. So I have a cool photo. The Penn State social media and designers always do a great job, but I love seeing their stuff during the NFL draft with each player getting picked, and then this one spotlights not just the 8 that were drafted, but the 13 that are moving on to the NFL, which include the 5 guys that signed as undrafted free agents, which were Ellis Brooks, Drew Hartlaub, Derek Tangelo, and Eric Wilson are all signed undrafted free agent contracts. So 13 Penn Staters being able to have a chance to play in the NFL.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Really great job, well done from them. And 17 first-round draft picks from Pennsylvania. So huge number there for, I don't know what the years are on that. I'm trying to look on the graphic. But it's just cool to see those first-round draft picks that played in Pennsylvania on this image from Penn State. And this is just their the best in PA, stay in PA push. Of course, obviously up front is Barkley, Dotson, and Parsons, but then they mixed in Carey, Kyle Brady, LeVar Arrington, Jared Odrick, and then some big-time names in the background. And it's really cool graphic that they have put
That's
together. I guess they mean 17 first-round picks from PA since maybe the common draft, which I think was either, I forget if it's 67 or 70.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I thought it was 70, but I don't know.
So good stuff. Absolutely good stuff all around.
Do you want me to advance the week?
Yeah, advance it to the end. We can rock and roll there with that. I think my dad was texting me. Let's see what he had to say. Probably something about you.
Oh,
if I had to
undoubtedly.
guess.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. I'm assuming he means me. Are you and Uncle Rich nervous because the Jets did have a very good draft? So the Jets had a very good draft. I don't know that they're ready to challenge the other teams in the AFC East even.
Right.
Because they had so many holes, but this didn't make those holes worse. Or they didn't. They added some good pieces, but it's all going to come down to the quarterback. And right now in the AFC East, Zach Wilson is the worst quarterback in the AFC East.
Yeah.
Now you can get into arguments of who's second and third. Obviously, we know number 1 is Josh Allen.
Right.
But until you see more from the Jets and Zach Wilson, I still don't think I'm that concerned. Does it make the games against them harder? Definitely. And that's not what I want to see, knowing the Dolphins need to perform against teams like the Jets to have any shot at the playoffs.
Right, the Jets are a team where you need to beat them twice.
Yes.
Right, like you have to beat them twice, especially in the AFC East, where you generally are like, all right, well, maybe we'll split with the Patriots because you should win that Miami game.
Right.
Here we go, some season record holders.
We got some?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your defensive end, right?
Defensive end, yeah.
That's him. He beat his own record.
Yeah, from last year.
No, he's got to be setting some career. There you go.
Yeah, career ones.
He just upped his own record.
Yep.
So my dad also says, tell Justin the Cowboys went light with the draft this year, so the Eagles would have a chance to somewhat catch up. So that's what he's going with right there.
Hey, this is where I get to pull out the fandom stuff, and I get to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because like we're sitting here on draft night, I'm like, the cap is non-existent. The cap doesn't matter. But then when I talk about the Cowboys, I like to bring up how they're always in cap trouble, right? Like so. But
well,
that's
each
how
team
that's supposed to
operates
work.
differently, so
Right.
it's tough to tell sometimes how things are going. You can advance this week
Okay.
too, see what happens here. We'll wrap up the draft talk and see. I don't know if you want to see if we're gonna be coaching a new team. See where we go here.
Yeah, let's see what.
Do we
want
to stick it out?
Well, I think we have to see what
Well, we
happens.
finished 10-3, so
We're gonna
in
go.
year 1 we were 7-6, right?
Okay, just continue.
Yeah, we have to go through the recruiting.
All right.
So here, let's just hit A. Yeah, just hit A. So year one, we're 7-6 with a Hawaii bowl game victory. All right, here we go. Do the contract. What is this contract? So our prestige is up to an A+. We're 30-10. We're 2-1 against our rivals, but 9-4 against the top 25, and we're 3-0 in bowl games. Yeah, that's really good. Do we want to check out the other?
Oh, absolutely. I want to check out the other.
How do we? I'm not used to doing this, so.
Todd Graham is a top candidate for USC. I feel like if you flash back like 7 or 8 years, that would have been accurate.
All right, send to my next offer. So I have to wait until they get to this?
Yes, I don't know.
Then I do skip to send to my next offer. Does this just mean that we're in the running?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh. Georgia Tech wants to hire us.
That's an interesting one, but no.
Yeah, I would say no. And West Virginia.
Interesting, but no.
Yeah, I don't think we can take that. Kentucky.
SEC.
Yeah. I mean, we did pretty well against.
Right.
No, I don't.
But I don't want to go to Kentucky.
I don't want to Kentucky.
If this was NCAA basketball, then yeah.
Oh, Louisiana Monroe wants us.
Yeah, no.
No thanks. I'd rather stay at FAU.
Yeah, we're better than Louisiana Monroe.
Right. Ooh, Utah. So we're on the short list for every opening.
Okay.
So
It's because we're good. Oh, coordinator jobs.
yeah.
No.
Oh, were we up for the USC coach? Did I miss that? Clay Helton was fired after failing to meet his goals. Their new head coach is Alex Grinch.
He was at Bowling Green.
He was at Bowling Green, yeah. So who did Tennessee go with? Zach Arnett. Bowling Green with Mike Houston. Georgia Tech went John Donovan. West Virginia went Todd Grantham. And
John Donovan at Georgia Tech, like play calling wizard. That makes sense.
So Tulane, BYU, Illinois, Ohio.
It would make sense with all these offers why they offered us a contract extension.
Yeah, Duke, New Mexico, Southern Miss. Yeah, they're just coming in. SMU, UTSA. They're the ones that just beat us, right? Oh, it's for offensive coordinator. Air Force head coach.
We beat up on Navy.
Yursich. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
Rumored candidate, Mike Yursich. Oh, but his contract expired.
Right.
So it doesn't look like we're going to get any big ones.
No.
We're in the coordinators, so all the head coaches are gone. Yeah. So I guess we're sticking out one more year at FAU.
Yeah.
All right. So
maybe we can get over the hump next year.
There are a couple of offers there. If we passed, maybe we passed up on the USC one. I guess I didn't really understand how that carousel worked.
I don't think we were actually.
Oh, we need a new defensive coordinator.
Oh gosh. Where'd I go?
No, you're the head coach. Remember?
Oh yeah.
It's just you play the defense. All right, so let's get out of this. We don't care about this anymore. We're going to advance to the next stage. All right, so we're going to do Florida Atlantic Season 4. I have no idea when we'll get to do that.
Yeah, that's a problem for future.
Yeah, that's much later. Any other thoughts about the draft and what went down and how the NFL landscape changed as a result?
No, I thought it was interesting. The draft is kind of wide open because of the quarterbacks, the quarterback situation. It was interesting. Malik Willis going so late is interesting because I don't know if he's gonna get a real shot. That sounds crazy, but think about it. Look at most of the quarterbacks were not later round picks, right? So it'll be interesting, especially for a guy to actually develop. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting though. You went to Tennessee, right? Malik Willis?
Yes.
It's gonna be interesting if they don't get over a hump this year.
Right.
People are gonna be like, well, why don't we see if we can go with the guy who might be able to give us more at the quarterback position, right?
So Randy Shannon is our new defensive coordinator, by the way.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And we're still the head coach, but I was trying to see who the offensive coordinator is. That's still Drew Maringer, so slowly but surely trying to get him upgraded. But Randy Shannon is almost as high as you can go.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great for us that they were able to bring him in. Yeah, I don't have much else to add about the draft. Apparently, at least for the first round, ratings were down for the second straight year.
That surprised me, it surprised me when you say second straight year,
right?
But also, take into account 2 years ago, it was the first true sporting event on TV in months, or a month and a half, right? So people were dying for something. Nobody was doing anything else. Everybody was sitting at home watching everything. Last year, that wasn't as much the case.
Right.
This year, again, and lack of intrigue with quarterbacks. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Try not to let these guys going. I got 2 to come back.
Projected 6th round. Why? I always make the guaranteed promises.
See, these are all easy ones. So now, do we get this transfer? A freshman defensive end who didn't merit. Oh, jeez. He's leaving. He's leaving us. All right, I got all the other classmen to stay, though. Honestly, besides the running back, I don't know that we're losing too much. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, so we're losing Larry McCammon, who was a beast for us. Right. He was.
What about the defensive end? He's leaving, right?
Junior graduation. Oh, both running backs are gone. No, Tyndall's back.
Oh man, he's already the school
I'm glad
leader.
We're sticking around because now my quarterback's also going to be. Right. He was a true freshman, so that's good. That's good. Let's advance to the next stage. So, the Phillies. Did you see any updates on that game right now?
I saw it was 3-3, and then I checked it was 6-3. They were losing.
Oh. Well, Schwarber started off with a home run,
and then he hit another 2-run home run. It is 6-4 in the top of the 7th right now. They're down 6-4.
Larry McCammon went in the 4th round. He was the only player that we had.
So Schwarber has 2 home runs tonight.
And he had 1 yesterday.
Right.
Ooh, we're getting 2 transfers.
Tight end
from
Alabama.
And a middle linebacker from Georgia.
Yeah. Nice.
And they're both freshmen. That means they were 4 or 5-star guys that are transferring in.
Right.
Yeah, we'll take you. That's good. That's good for us.
We'll take that.
We're gonna have to stock this schedule again. This non-conference schedule. So nothing Flyers to talk about. That season is mercifully over. How about Sixers? They got to the next round. It wasn't easy,
and it was a dominant game 6. Not the first half, but third quarter they dominated and they held it off in the 4th. And Joel gets hit.
Yeah.
Breaks his orbital.
Concussion.
And a concussion, right? So I saw today he's going to miss the first 2 games.
Oh, is he for sure?
Yeah, they say he's going to miss the first 2. They don't know. Could potentially be back with a mask in Game 3 in Philly. So here you go. James Harden, get us a game in Miami. Split. That's all you had to do to begin with.
Right.
Is split that road. If they can split that road, oh my gosh. So just think about it. So let me just put this out there. If Embiid doesn't come back, they have 0 shot against the Heat for the series.
Right.
Right, like the Heat are the 1 seed. If he does come back in Game 3, if they could split on the road, and he comes back in Game 3 with like the mask, like in Philly, it's gonna be raucous, right?
Yeah,
it's gonna be
to say
raucous.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
So it could be a fun series. They need to play like they did in games 1, 2, 3, and 6. 4 and 5, they kind of went through the motions, and Toronto took it to them. They play like they did in those other games.
At least we're not crossing the border anymore.
Right.
For Tybal.
Yeah, man, what a interesting situation.
Don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
Welcome to Florida.
Yes.
So we get to play Jimmy Butler though.
Yeah. So, kind of going off that, interesting that Milwaukee took it to Boston today.
Did they?
Which is not what I was expecting because Boston took it to the Nets.
Yeah, they did.
So I was really not anticipating that to happen. But hey, they're the defending champs. Like people are just going to keep doubting them. And well, without Chris Middleton, and the Celtics looked really good, but not today.
We got the 12th ranked recruiting class.
That's incredible. 7 4-star guys and 10 threes. That's incredible. That's great. That's great. See who's below us. Like better than Oregon, Texas and Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Ohio State,
Miami.
You love to see it.
Tennessee,
yeah, I
Arkansas.
haven't seen our boys on
I know. So I was just thinking, oh boy.
Well, maybe that job will come up.
Oh God. Wait, for real? Or were they in the top 10?
I'm gonna hope because they went Temple.
Did we miss them in the first 11?
Yes.
8.
They're 8.
Thank God. So Michigan was 1, Clemson 2, Georgia 3, Wisconsin 4, LSU 5, Ole Miss 6, Washington State 7th, Penn State 8th, Virginia Tech 9th, Notre Dame 10th, Florida 11th, and then us at 12th. That's it. All defensive guys. Unless those 2 athletes play on offense. They're all for you, apparently.
I'll take it.
A 4-star wide receiver, though. So, but yeah, you get a 4-star free safety, a 4-star defensive end, a 4-star cornerback, 4-star outside linebacker, and then 2 athletes. But one of them is 6'6", 251. So I don't think he's playing anything on offense.
We lost 2 running backs.
I guess he could play. Tight end. It'll be interesting.
He's
to
a
see.
4-star going to a Florida Atlantic. He can play wherever he wants.
He probably can, yeah. So, who's the 5-star that Penn State got? A defensive end.
Sounds about right.
Good for them. They were 6 and 7 last year, by the way.
Ooh.
Their roster, though, overall is a 99.
So if they don't have a good year, it could be open.
Spot could open up. So we'll see. I feel like now that we're in year 4, the only thing that'll pry us away is probably Penn State. Unless, would you want to go to Army or Navy?
No.
No. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like in real life, maybe.
Yeah,
but not,
definitely.
not in the game.
No. What I used to do when I would start at FIU, I would play 2 or 3 seasons with them, and then I would usually go to a team that I don't like, but I knew would be a stepping stone to Penn State. Like I would go to Temple or Pitt even.
Yeah.
Like I would go there. I had a couple good years at Pitt.
See, I'd be tempted to throw every game. So.
But that wouldn't get me to Penn State. Then that's also the ultimate middle finger.
So
to
here you go.
Pitt to go to
Here
Penn
you go.
State.
Here's an interesting note. So Penn State introduced their new athletic director.
Right.
And I don't know, did you see? I can never remember his name, but is it Ben Jones? Maybe I don't know.
Ben Jones is one of them.
Yeah, one of the Penn State guys. Younger, not he's not in college anymore, but younger guy. But he's like an interesting note to file away for years from now or whatever. Is that who's the coach at? Oh, yeah, Matt Rule. Matt Rule and this guy are like best friends, or very close.
Interesting.
Yes, and he was like, yeah, it just came up like in the thing, like because Matt Rule was a Penn State guy, and they were just like, he's like, just gonna file away that quote for years from now or something. Just in that like, kind of like how it comes up all the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully not for a little bit. I liked his take on Kale of, which I'm sure that came up in the interview process. Right. Give him what he wants.
So the first athlete's best position is either center or guard. And then this guy's best position is possibly running back. So we lost a running back. So
make him a running back.
Well, let's look at what quarterback. Well, so the quarterback room is kind of stacked.
Yeah, and in 3 sophomores already. Oh man, look at that running back room. He'd be the second best running back.
Yeah, so that guy will go. Andrew White has become a halfback. Good for him. Then this guy, I wanted to check on the offensive lineman. So 95, but a senior. See, there's my guards. They haven't gotten any better.
Right. He'd already be as good as the other guard. Is that what I said?
Yeah. We've got a really good incoming guard. So I'm going to put him at left guard.
Yeah. Because there's also only one left tackle.
So
yeah, he's a good left guard.
He's only 250, but
that's
all right. So who's the slowest running back here? Oh, the guy who just moved there.
Yeah, but only by a little bit.
I was gonna move one of these to fullback maybe. Oh, we have 2 fullbacks.
Move one of them to left tackle.
Look at all the receivers. Well, some of those guys are gonna get cut.
Yeah.
This one, I wish you didn't have to do that. I always feel bad having these guys. So where's our transfer? Is this here? This guy. Transferred in, and he's still only 3rd on the depth chart. Yeah, we only have. So I think we're gonna have a pretty good team next year.
We should be very good.
There he is, back for more, and
all 90. He should be better than
well,
that.
he hasn't had it. He's gonna be +4 or 5 when we go through the advancement. So your tackles.
Yeah.
So, oh man, you're gonna have a studly front. Oh, was that the transfer? The middle linebacker probably going to start.
Yeah. I knew he would.
Oh my God, this secondary. At least your cornerback safeties aren't.
And look at they're all underclassmen.
Yeah.
They're all underclassmen.
Which
makes sense. They're all the guys we recruited
right,
in because Florida Atlantic in the computer generated ones was not getting those guys.
Yeah. So all right. So the future looks bright. I don't know when we'll get to play any games with them in year 4, but I think we've got a pretty solid group. And even though we lost the top 2 running backs, and that's my bread and butter for sure. Hopefully, an additional year in the system, the fake system for freshman quarterback Steve Salas will make us better. So. Ooh, yeah, look at that. We got a bunch in the 90s. Yeah, Tyndall went up to a 95.
Gosh, and look at that defense, man. And our left tackle's a 99.
Connor Waters. So I have a left tackle, tight end, and wide receiver who are all 99s.
Right. I have a 98 cornerback, 98 defensive tackle, 96 defensive tackle, 95 cornerback, 95 defensive end. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not so bad.
That's not scheduled. Now, do we schedule Penn State to beat them so that we could maybe go
at Beaver Stadium too?
I kind of want to, but I kind of don't want to.
Well, it would be one of those like if we lose, we'll be like, eh.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true.
I have to cut 7 people. This is always the worst part.
How about Penn State's new punter? 6'6", 250?
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so a 52. I'm sorry, you got to go. I feel like I can't cut any linemen, though. I feel like we didn't have a lot of linemen.
Especially on the left side.
Yeah, so let's go by position. Oh, I don't need that many quarterbacks either. Sorry, Ali. I think you got to go, too. The roster should be 80.
It should be 85.
Uh, 30, no. Do I need 2 fullbacks?
No, not when we have that many running backs.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm apologizing to no one. Oh, but I really want to cut someone named Dotson. He's only a 61, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nate. It's a lot of tight ends, too. But we're losing 2 seniors, though. Yeah, don't have enough linemen to cut any linemen. Although that left guard was a 55. There's not enough. Probably one of the ends, huh?
Yeah. I would cut him.
Parrish?
Yeah.
Sorry, Oliver. So just one more. Oh, those are all upperclassmen mostly. I'm cutting an 80. Ugh, might have to cut the 62 freshman. Yeah. I think that's gotta be them.
Yeah.
Although we're losing 3 of them, so we gotta recruit DBs. Oh, he's a bust too. See ya. All right, we're done there. That's it. All right, so we are going to call this one as this advances. Thanks everyone for joining us for the Hawaii Bowl game in our year 3 of the NCAA Football 14 Dynasty. We won that, finished the year 10-3, ranked 18th, and we decided to stick it out with Florida Atlantic for another year. So we will be playing the 2016 college football season whenever we start Dynasty year 4. I don't know when that's going to be, but it's been a lot of fun talking NFL draft. So I think that's it for Justin and I here on the show. We will be off for a few weeks. We're not broadcasting May 8th or May 15th, so we'll be back May 22nd with our next show, which is 3 weeks from tonight. And on May 22nd, we will be starting, believe it or not, our 2022 NFL preview talking about the West divisions.
There we go.
We'll full bore, full steam ahead as it comes to the NFL, as we have been for the last many, many years. But we appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you'll be back with us again in 3 weeks when we have episode 359. But for now, this is Joe Mays and J-Raff signing off. Episode 358 is over. We'll see you again in 3 weeks.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. Woo-hoo! You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.